There will be spoilers for The Mandalorian Season 3 and possibly beyond. If you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, proceed with caution. I don't hold back. In The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2, or Chapter 18, titled The Mines of Mandalore, we get just that, the Mines of Mandalore. In the mines, we get to see Din Djarin cleanse himself of any wrongdoing, attempting to renew his vows to the way of the Mandalorian and waltzing his way back into his little group, the Children of the Watch. But when he takes a few steps into the living waters of Mandalore, he drops, sinking to the bottom instantly. What did the guy expect? He wore full metal armor into a lake. Why did you take off your jetpack? Sorry, it's his own fault he sank. After Din Djarin disappears into the dark waters, without hesitation, Bo-Katan makes her way into the water by diving to retrieve Din Djarin before his child witnesses his demise. Successful, Bo-Katan pulls Din Djarin from the bottom and ascends the depths. On the way, she sees a mythosaur, long believed to be extinct. I'm sure it's unimportant that Bo-Katan witnessed this majestic beast. Actually, she's the only one to have witnessed it. I'm sure that's unimportant too. But there's something else equally important or unimportant or whatever. These writers sure do like to toy with my emotions. No, I believe we missed something truly important, and that is the moment both Din Djarin and Bo-Katan Kryze enter the living waters. Before I go deeper into this scene and make you all hate me, a quick word from our producer. Me. Yeah, I changed my title. Shoot me. Apparently, I can't be the sponsor of my own video. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a big thumbs up. I'm on a voyage to hit 50,000 subscribers, and I'd like you all to be a part of that journey. I know every YouTube channel asks for your subscription, but I absolutely promise to deliver on my word. With me, you'll get the best Star Wars content YouTube has to offer, all original content. So, let's keep it funky fresh together. I honestly don't know what funky fresh means. I'll just keep it fresh for you as long as I'm able to make videos. How about that? Okay, enough rambling. Let's get into the living waters scene. And at the end, I'll discuss some possibilities where you will have a choice. Without giving too much away, let's get into it. As a bit of a precursor, why did Din Djarin tell Grogu to go get Bo-Katan for help? Grogu has the power to crush the mechanical body of the skill crane claw machine thingy, or, at minimum, he could throw the thing far enough to give him time to free Din Djarin. Why? Because it's important for Bo-Katan to be there, in the mines. When Din Djarin enters the living waters, you can almost feel his excitement.
And there was much rejoicing.
But as Mando recites the creed, Din Djarin sinks fast. Now, in literature, water represents cleansing, and this is the intention of Din Djarin just before he plummets to the abyss below. And I know this isn't a dream, but tropes from dreams are often used in literature. Don't believe me? Just watch any number of horror films. But in dreams, sinking in water is a sign that you're suffering from a severe emotional problem. And we know Din Djarin is going through something. Otherwise, he'd be able to wield the Darksaber easier than what we've seen. Let's also note that Din Djarin sinks to the bottom rapidly. More rapidly than he should have, probably. Some say he was pulled down by the mythosaur, but that isn't the case. It's symbolism. Yeah, symbolism. When Bo-Katan enters the water, she doesn't hesitate to dive right in to save the drowning Mandalorian. But she doesn't sink. Not the way Din Djarin did. In fact, she ignites her jetpack to descend the waters quicker. But it still isn't quick enough to catch up with Din Djarin, who just fell a moment sooner. When Bo-Katan reaches Din Djarin, he's on the bottom. One would think Bo-Katan's jetpack at full power would be faster than a limp body sinking. But no. And a lot of Star Wars fans have pointed out that it made no sense. Well, for the story, it made absolute sense. As I mentioned before, this was symbolism. Yeah, symbolism. Din Djarin had no control over his submersion, yet he fell at an incredible rate. His emotional fears or traumas drug him down. Bo-Katan, on the other hand, couldn't force herself to the bottom quick enough to stop Din Djarin's descension. The writers could have easily written Bo-Katan catching Din Djarin's unconscious body falling halfway down, but they didn't. They wrote him to the bottom, faster than a powerful jetpack could carry Bo-Katan, and there's a reason. With Din Djarin's hang-ups, he had no control. It was a symbolic drowning. But Bo-Katan has no emotional hang-ups. Yeah, I said it. Sure, she was a bit bitter about not retrieving the Darksaber from Moff Gideon, and she felt guilty for her failures of the past. But she knows what must be done in order to return the Mandalorians to prosperity and strength. And in this moment of clarity, she sees the Mandalore sink to certain death. There was no thought, no calculated decision as to why she should do it. Her dive into the happy waters of atonement was instinctual. As much as we all want Din Djarin to be accepted back into his cult, covert, we have to ask ourselves why we want that. I mean, the Children of the Watch are a group of pompous elitists who think their way is the only Mandalorian way. We also disagree with the whole removing of the helmet thing. So, why do we want this scene to work out for Mando? Who cares if they don't consider him a Mandalorian? Other groups of Mandalorians do. And he doesn't tell Greef Karga to stop calling him Mando. Nope, this scene isn't about Din Djarin's atonement. It's about Bo-Katan's. Let's back up a little and hear me out before you go holding your ears running away screaming. As Din Djarin enters the living waters, where's the camera focused? Or rather, who is it most focused on? Bo-Katan Kryze. Yes, it shows moments of Din Djarin as he recited the creed, but it spends a lot of time on Bo-Katan's face and her emotions, even zooming in on her, hinting that this is going to be her redemption. I'm sure Din Djarin will return to the Children of the Watch, but it was this moment that belonged to Bo-Katan. Not only has Din Djarin atoned for removing his helmet, but Bo-Katan is now redeemed of her past. Now, I'm not saying Bo-Katan is absolutely going to become the leader of the Mandalorians, or Mandalore, again. I'm just saying it's a possibility. There are still 6 episodes of this season left, and there could be many twists and turns. Not to mention, season 4 is written, and there may be 5 or 6 seasons of this show. So it may take years to discover who will actually lead. Personally, I still hold on to the hope that Boba Fett will become the Mandalore, just as he was in the expanded universe, and his father before him. So I've laid out the whole idea that Bo-Katan will now be redeemed for her past. But what does that mean? Will she be redeemed in the eyes of the Children of the Watch? I really don't think anyone's opinion of her matters. This was about Bo-Katan letting go of the past and doing what's best for Mandalore and the Mandalorian people within herself. This is a way for her to get past her own hang-ups. Now let's talk about Din Djarin's atonement. How excited were we when we saw the waters? We didn't even see what lay beneath the surface. We were excited because Din Djarin is now able to be welcomed back to his cult with open arms. When in actuality, we shouldn't want that at all. They're a cult, and they are restraining Din Djarin with rules that shouldn't be. He's essentially a slave to their cause. Their own idealism is claimed to be for the safety of their people, when in reality it's a way of controlling the Mandalorians. And I think this is weighing on Din Djarin. He's met Boba Fett and Bo-Katan Kryze, 2 people he sees as worthy of wearing Mandalorian armor, yet they follow different traditions. His ideals are shifting, and now Bo-Katan Kryze will be trusted by Din Djarin. Okay, I told you there would be a time for you all to make a choice. I'm going to present 4 Mandalorians who are the top runners for becoming Mandalore, and I want you all to comment which it should be. In the meantime, I'll give you pros and cons for each. We all knew who I want. Hint, Boba Fett, hint. But don't let that influence you. I also want you to take the Darksaber out of the equation. It was never used as a right to lead before Maul had it, and if it were a divine right, Din Djarin could have told the armorer he's changing the helmet rule, and she would have to obey. First, we have Din Djarin. His pros are his positive attitude. He took in an orphan and is raising him as a Mandalorian. Din Djarin is a great warrior, and he follows the creed as closely as possible. His faults are that he is unsure of himself and has low self-esteem when it comes to the covert he is supposed to be the leader of, and not to mention his own leadership skills. He doesn't show an interest in leading, only raising his child and being sort of a loner. He gets his ass kicked a lot. He doesn't understand Mandalorian history, politics, or who the Mandalore was before him. Kind of a big problem for the Rezulnari. Next up, we have Bo-Katan Kryze. Her pros are that she understands Mandalorian politics. She knows the history of her culture. She has led before, albeit unsuccessfully. She's a hell of a warrior. She already owns a family castle. Her faults are that she failed in leading before. She's quite arrogant, spoiled princess syndrome, and she doesn't seem to have much tolerance for outside ideas. Then we have Boba Fett. He excels in the chosen profession of Mandalorians and bounty hunting, one of the best warriors to put his sword in Mandalorian armor. He understands that Mandalorians are implosive, and he's been working on his leadership skills. His faults are that he is used to a certain amount of freedom. He has grown a bit soft in his older age. He doesn't understand politics, and when triggered, he will kill anyone in the way of his prize. See the newer comics. Last but certainly not least, we have the little green guy who hails from the land down under, Grogu. Okay, he doesn't really hail from Australia, but it would be cool if he did. His pros are that he's been training as a Jedi and is highly force sensitive. He can tame beasts, possibly even one as large as a mythosaur, and he loves him's daddy, and he's cute. The cons to the cutie being Mandalore are, well, he's a 50-year-old toddler. He can't speak. He knows nothing of politics. He isn't a great warrior. In fact, he has either to be pushed out of danger or rescued a lot. And he trained under many masters and still has a difficult time with his abilities. Also, he eats things he shouldn't be eating. Honestly, if you want Grogu as the Mandalore, we never know what could happen in the future, but I wouldn't want a toddler running the show. I know. I tried to leave my opinions out of it, but I just couldn't help it. Let me know in the comments below who you would choose. And if you have someone other than these four in mind, let me know who they are and why, such as Fenn Rau. Seriously, we need to see him again. The Armorer for whatever reason, Paz Vizsla, or whomever else. I'd like to hear your arguments on it. And before you go, another quick word from our producer, me. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a like. I'm really trying to hit 50,000 subscribers, and I'd like you all to be a part of the next phase of this channel. The YouTube algorithm is more difficult than deciphering ancient Sumerian text, but together we can conquer it. And don't forget, when I hit 25,000 subscribers, I will be doing a special live stream celebration where I will be doing shots of some of the finest Kentucky vintage. Who knows what will happen. Also, there is a giveaway at 25,000 subscribers to one lucky subscriber. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. Until the next video, this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. Thank you all for watching, and remember, this is the way. And positivity in the Star Wars community should be the only way.